What's up, movie crew? Welcome to the latest Let's Rank. Before I get started, if you are new to this channel, my name is Luke, this is Let's Watch a Movie, and if you're in anything cinema and physical media related, you come to the right place, so hit that subscribe button. An emphasis on hitting that subscribe button at 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to be doing a 5 Steelbook giveaway. And we are this close. So if you're new, please hit that subscribe button. Alright, so last week I ranked my top 5 MCU movies and my bottom 5 MCU movies. So I thought, there's a lot of stuff from Marvel that's not in the MCU. So today, I'm going to rank my top 5 Marvel movies that are not in the MCU. So, let's go on ahead and get into this. But first, like the previous ones, we've done an honorable mention, so we're going to go on ahead and do that here. Alright, so my honorable mention, and there's actually 2 cuts of this movie for anyone that wants to check it out, and that is X-Men Days of Future Past. Yeah, they do kind of change the story up from the comics a little bit, but we do get a nice intermingling of sorts between the cast of First Class and the cast of the original trilogy. And I think they did a good job with everything involved. They did a worthy successor to First Class. They did a good thing with the original cast members. Seeing Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy interact with one another in a scene was amazing. And originally in the trailers you see Rogue, who is not in the movie. So we get the Rogue cut, which is still a solid movie. So, my honorable mention goes to X-Men Days of Future Past. At number 5, this is the oldest movie on here, and this is the one that a lot of people need to give some appreciation to, because had this movie bombed, there's a chance there's a lot of movies that came out that we probably wouldn't have gotten, and that's Blade. Wesley Snipes did his thing as the titular role, so much so that despite how good of an actor Mahershala Ali is, there was actually some criticisms behind the fact that Wesley Snipes isn't coming back to the role. This movie was the first in a more modern, I guess, sense with comic book movies. Because of the success of this one, we ended up eventually getting X-Men from Fox, Spider-Man from Sony. I honestly think had this movie failed, we probably wouldn't have gotten those. But as far as this movie itself goes, you've got a worthy villain. You've got Wesley Snipes doing his thing, but also showing respect to the character, because a lot of these movies before this, it was pretty much an in-name only thing. So seeing Wesley Snipes actually go in as the character was very refreshing. So that is why this is number 5 in my non-MCU Marvel movies. At number 4, we've got Kingsman: The Secret Service. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, Kingsman is based on a comic. I am aware that the current version of this graphic novel is released through Image because Mark Millar has a deal with Image for his Millar World imprint. However, at the time when this movie was released, the comic and graphic novel were released through Icon, which is a subsidiary of Marvel, making this, in my mind, a Marvel movie. Now that we've got the debate over whether or not this is a comic book movie or even a Marvel movie, let's get into the movie itself. You've got something that plays homage to the James Bond movies. You've got Eggsy, who's paying some homage to 24. You've got a stacked cast with Colin Firth, Michael Caine, Samuel L. Jackson. But despite those three being on here, and Mark Strong, you got Sophia Boutella and Taron Egerton owning their roles and holding their own against some very well-known, well-respected actors in the game. The movie itself has some crazy action scenes, awesome comedy, and even though the original Secret Service graphic novel was a one-off, this movie did well enough to where we ended up getting a franchise with Secret Circle. We've got the Kingsman prequel. Matthew Vaughn has mentioned that this year they're supposed to start shooting the third movie, the actual follow-up to Golden Circle. So yes, this movie is fun to watch. It is very rewatchable. Highly recommend checking this movie out if you have not checked it out already. At number 3, we've got Big Hero 6. Alright, so Marvel was not always owned by Disney. But once Disney had fully acquired Marvel, they wanted to take advantage of some IP that they knew Kevin Feige wasn't going to be using. And Big Hero 6, for the most part, is very standalone-ish in the world of Marvel. And I'm going to tell everyone now, if you haven't read the Big Hero 6 comics, it is very different from the movie we got. However, this movie is still amazing. You've got a very solid origin story here, with Hero trying to avenge the death of his brother and learning how to use his brother's AI robot sort of thing, Baymax, and figuring out how to use him as a superhero to help save his city of San Francisco. The supporting cast also does their thing in this movie too. This is a very good, very amazing, gut-wrenching, feel-good movie. Yes, I'm aware I said gut-wrenching and feel-good in the same thing. For a movie that is mainly aimed for younger audiences, it's very much mentioned how Hero's brother dies, and we pretty much see it on screen. So yes, it is gut-wrenching, but seeing that Hero and his friends and Baymax still manage to overcome the odds makes it a very good, feel-good movie as well. So yeah, not often you can say that a movie is both gut-wrenching and feel-good at the same time. At number 2, and I've got to say with this particular character, this is my favorite movie featuring this character. Regardless of MCU appearances, non-MCU appearances, it does not matter. My runner-up is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. In fact, if you have not seen the video yet, Across the Spider-Verse is in my top 5 for most anticipated movies of 2023. Pinned comment down below. I will have that video for anyone that wants to check it out. This movie, it's weird thinking that something from Sony is better than some of the other Spider-Man usage out there. They not only go against the grain and use Miles Morales instead of Peter Parker, they do the multiverse thing better than so many other movies have done it. This movie has action, it has romance, it has sci-fi, it has the most unique animation style I have ever seen in an animated movie, and that is coming from someone who watches a lot of animated stuff. But at the end of the day, the story itself is still really good. with Miles finding out that he now has the same powers as Spider-Man, becoming Spider-Man in his own universe, and still having to learn what he's doing while helping out other spider people across the multiverse. I cannot speak highly enough on this movie. If you have not seen it, you are doing yourself a disservice. There's a reason this is an Oscar award-winning movie. Let that sink in for a minute. This won the Academy for Best Animated Feature. It won against a Disney movie who usually has a stranglehold on that particular nomination. So yes, definitely check it out. And if you get the physical release, there is a Spider-Pig short that is hilarious. Alright, my number one. And it's odd because I had not watched this recently because it is not the easiest movie to watch. But there really can't be anything else at number one. And that is Logan. Alright, this is what we thought was going to be Hugh Jackman's swan song as character of Wolverine, aka Logan. And between Hugh Jackman and James Mangold, they ended up putting together a movie that is on par with The Dark Knight in the fact that it is not just a superhero movie, it transcends that. As a comic book reader, as a comic book fan, the truth is there's very few movies in this world that are as good as the major motion pictures. Dark Knight being one of them, Logan being the other one. You get a story of an older Logan. You see him having to make a promise to get someone else to an area because they're getting hunted because, mutants. You get Patrick Stewart back in what we initially thought would have been his final time playing Charles Xavier. And you get a movie that is very emotional, very powerful. There's so many things that I could say about this movie. There's a reason that people were upset about this getting snubbed at the Academy because of how good of a movie it is. I am going to give one little nitpick here. I do have the version that has the black and white version. I gotta be honest, the trailers, when we saw the black and white trailer and it was playing Johnny Cash in the background, it made it seem like it was going to be great. Really, all they did was just, put a black and white filter on it. But the movie itself, it just stands the test of time. It is something that you can still watch today. Because one of the complaints that I will say about comic book movies is some of them do get a little dated after a little while. This one is not that. And just so you know, you are in for an emotional roller coaster of a ride when you see this. You might laugh. There's some moments it's going to be a punch in the gut. There's going to be suspenseful moments. And by the end of it, you will be an emotional wreck. This movie had to be number one. There is no other movie that could have been up there with this one. Simple as that. My favorite non-MCU movie that's based on a Marvel title is Logan. And that is my top 5 Marvel movies not in the MCU. Now, for those that have only watched MCU movies, I highly recommend you checking out my top 5 because, yes, while there are some stinkers out there, one of them was even my number 1 for worst movie of 2022, there's also some classics that don't take place in the MCU. Like my number 1, for example. Or even one of the movies that did not make my list in Spider-Man 2. Marvel has a rich history in the comics, and just because some of them are not in the MCU does not mean that they are any less good as the MCU stuff. Some of them are even better than the MCU. I stand on that statement. But that's going to do it for this one. If you were new to this channel, hit that subscribe button. You like what you see, leave a thumbs up. Comment down below, what are your 5 favorite Marvel movies not in the MCU? But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all for watching, and tune in next time.